if I'm the neighbor of a narcissistic family, or I go to church with a narcissistic family, or I'm a teacher, what are some signs that I can see that this is a narcissistic family system? Like what would I as an outsider observe, not somebody like necessarily in direct relationship?
Well, the part of the complicating part of what you're saying is many times narcissists can be pretty good at covering up in public what's going on in private. And so, but eventually you'll begin to see it. I go back and I say, if you're the outsider looking in, then my first thing I'm going to watch for is how do you manage conflict? If there's a hurt or frustration, let's say a kid is not getting along with someone else at school. And then they throw a temper tantrum and they can't be consoled, or they withdraw and pout, or it may be that they just close up and say nothing and they have this pitiable look on their face. That tells me, okay, something's going on here. You're not responding out of a vacuum. There's a reason that you respond this way. Basically, people who are who are more or less indicating that they have come out of a narcissistic system have all sorts of less than ideal ways of responding when differences or diversity or complexities or conflict comes along. It's like, I don't know what to do with it. And so they either go into the forceful style, or they go into the evasive style, or they do what I call boomerang communication. Me, what about you? And they can't take responsibility. If you're trying to have a therapeutic inroad in that person's life, what you kind of have to do is to differentiate your relationship with that person from all the others. For example, I know that you're upset right now. I'd like for you to know that I really do want to hear what you have to say. In fact, I've had a few experiences that have been. This is in a non-therapeutic way that parallel that. I think I may understand more than you might give me credit for. Would you be willing to talk with me about it? And so you go into that kind of space with them, and then many of them, if they've been exposed to trauma and abuse, etc., it's going to take them a long time to be able to trust, because trust left the barn a long time ago. And so, but you want to position yourself as one that says, well, you're in the presence of someone who's really different. You want to hear a great example of that? One of my favorite people that I ever counseled with. And I, she came to me when she was around 30 or so, and she had been taken off the streets by her parents. She'd been gone from home for about 10 years. She had a history of drug addiction, and she sold her body in order to pay for her addictions. And she just had an awful way of life and was used and misused by so many people. And she became a user of people and manipulator and all. So she would come to my office, or at her parents' insistence, and she was pretty guarded at first. So we went deep into all of her history and all, I would start talking with her about, how she felt down at that real deep level about, the way people treated her, and she would say, I hated it. Then we began discussing her responses. One of the things I said to her was, I said, yeah, I guess, one of the things that I'm picking up on is down at the base, you don't really see yourself as a worthy person, do you? And she was just real quiet. It's kind of like, oh man, that's a big one. We talked about how each person has an inherent worth. Well, she didn't come back for about 3 weeks after we had that discussion. When she made a new appointment, one of the first things she said was, she said, when you said I have worth, I didn't know what to do with it. Nobody had ever said those words to me before. And I couldn't process it. And so I said, well, I'm glad you're back here. Can we talk about it some more? And we went into why and all of that. And it was very difficult for her, but exciting at the same time to think maybe there's a different world out there where people aren't there trying to exploit and use you. And they're not going to just come at you with all sorts of harshness and meanness. And she had to get used to it. And it was just it was like learning a new language. Um, so, you want to pick up on it with the idea that says, what a privilege it would be for me to be perhaps an embodiment of the healthier alternative. And I'm hoping that as we learn about narcissism, being the dark side of the human condition, we can think, somebody needs to be light. In other words, light means they help you see, and I hope that I can be that person. And I hope that I can give someone like this person, I just described, a hope that says, well, maybe humanity's not 100% negative. Maybe there's goodness out there, love and kindness, affection, encouragement.